Good morning, winners. We are in week 14, and we've done a lot of work to be positive. We've done tons of work on increasing our skill set, but we're sort of going to hit a cycle now of the excitement of some of the new stuff we learned is starting to wane, and we start to get back into old routines, and we start to let those outside things, the stuff, start to affect us again. And so I just want to make sure that you have it ready, that you are prepared to deal with that stuff. And really, it's no different than what we started from scratch. When we run into struggles, when we start to see that life starts creeping in, life starts getting us out of our primary sort of effective zone, that we have these things in place that we can just go back and reset. And so I want to go back to one of the first things that we talked about, which is erasing that whiteboard of life. And we know that our whiteboard of life is going to get filled with stuff, and it's really up to us to make sure that whether it's in the morning or in the morning and throughout the day, that we're prepared to deal with that whiteboard. So again, if we picture that whiteboard, we've got all the stuff of our life in there. You know, we've got bills and mortgages and car payments and taking the car for an oil change and dropping kids off at school, picking them up from school, going to basketball practice, going to soccer practice, all that stuff we have to do, doctor's appointments. And so all that stuff is what fills our whiteboard. And then what we try to do is we try to fit in fulfillment and happiness after that. And we've got all these little tiny spaces that we're trying to fill in, and it should work the exact opposite. We should do the things that are fulfilling and that help make us successful first, and then we fill in the stuff after that. And so the primary way that we talked about erasing that whiteboard was through gratitudes and declarations. And so whether it's first thing in the morning, we should be doing this every single day. This should be a routine for you now, that you wake up in the morning, you take a few minutes. Remember, we talked about erase, educate, and motivate. So every single morning, we should be getting up a half hour earlier so that we're prepared for that day. We're erasing the whiteboard of life. And the way we do that for me, and I would encourage you to try it. If not, you find your own way, you can do some research, but I count down from 10, taking deep breaths. Relax my body, make sure there's no tension in my jaw, no tension in my shoulders, and then I just start doing gratitudes. I start talking about everything in my life that I'm grateful for, and I sort of have mine broken down very similar to my checklist, which is, you know, spiritual things, health things, professional things, and then personal things. And so I just go through those gratitudes every single day of talking about, you know, every possible thing that I could be grateful. Things like, you know, having a car to drive, things like having my great dog that I enjoy spending time with. But everything that I have to be grateful for, I start out with that. And then I go into my declarations. You know, I am successful, and I'm wealthy, and I'm important, and I'm influential, and I'm helpful, and I'm honest, and I'm trustworthy. And all of these things that I go through in my declarations. And the two of those really start to help erase the whiteboard of life. And they start getting me in a positive frame of mind, because that's how we want to attack every single day, is in a positive frame of mind. The next thing I do is I read, so that I'm educating myself every single day. I'm either getting better at something to do with my job, or getting better at something to do with real estate, something to do with mortgage, something to do with insurance. So that when I go out and I'm meeting new people and I'm talking to the current members, I always have something that I can add to their day. I read motivational stuff too, so I usually read 2, maybe 3 books at a time, so that I have educational things, I have motivational things, because again, I want to start off my day with that clean whiteboard, and I want to be the one that starts putting positive things on that whiteboard. And once those positive things are on there, everything else is going to fit in anyway. We're always going to find time to do stuff. We're always going to find time to put gas and all the other silly things that we need to do. So we don't really need to let that take up real estate in our head. We need to make sure our head is really focused on and working on doing those important things that drive the overall success of our life. And so that erasing of the whiteboard is super critical. Now we're going to get into the day, and there's going to be times where things don't happen the way we want them to happen, that things don't go the way that we want them to go. And it's at those times we have to just remind ourselves. Maybe we go back to our vision board and just look at our vision board and try and remember why we're doing all this. Maybe we just go back to the very beginning exercise of the day. It doesn't take that long. And just sit in our car for a minute, or sit in a quiet room for a minute, and just go through that exercise again of erasing the whiteboard and starting off. There's things that we can't prevent. There's things that are going to go wrong, that are going to try and derail us. We still have the choice. We still have the choice to be positive. We still have the choice to just take a few moments, go through some gratitudes, and erase that whiteboard and start the rest of the day with a clean whiteboard, trying to make the best of a bad situation, if you will. So it's just very critical that we understand that, when we started this program off, there was some pretty cool and exciting stuff, and maybe you learned some stuff, or maybe you were just reminded of some stuff that you had learned in the past about how to focus our attitude and how to be more positive. And the more positive we are, the more positive we're going to attract. People are going to want to be around us. People are going to want to do business with us when we're positive and inspiring. All that's really cool, but then you sort of you're heading up, you plateau a little bit, and then life starts getting in the way again, and then that's when we see a little bit of a dip. We dip in attitude, dip in results. So we just have to go back to the beginning. Maybe you really feel pretty good about this limiting belief that we started off moving out of the way, but there's always another belief we can work on, right? There's always something more we can do, because if you in couple 3 months, 4 months have moved this limiting belief out of the way, then what's the next belief that's keeping you from taking the next giant step in your life, right? Because maybe you've increased your sales to this point. Are they double? Are they 10 times the amount? So what do I need to believe to take that next big step? And then we just start the process over again, right? We do it exactly the same way. If you don't have access to the beginning videos, I start them again every 3 to 4 months, and I do that on purpose because we always have another belief we can overcome, or that old belief starts creeping back in because we stop doing those daily exercises that we need to be doing to reinforce this new positive belief. And so that's why those declarations are so important every morning, is because we just got to reinforce those connections in our brain where we're doing amazing things and where we're really focused on who we are and who we want to be, where we're going, what we want to attract. Again, life is much easier when we're attracting. We have the worksheet for a reason, because we want to build these winning habits. We're probably, I can tell by how many people have downloaded the videos and watched the videos, or logged on, watched videos, and downloaded the worksheets, that we're a little bit behind on the video content. And so there's some important habit building things that go along with these weekly exercises and these weekly checklists. And what we really want to do is we want to take these behaviors that we know are best practices in the industry, and we want to make them habit. But we can't do that without the repetition. And that's why a lot of this program is just about repetition. That's why I hit you guys with morning videos every morning. And sometimes it seems like there's nothing new, or that you wish there was some additional things that we might work on. But until we really, really solidify the things that we're already doing as habit, then it's really difficult to add more to it, because then all we're doing is we're just, we're kind of compounding the work that we have to do. And so that's why we start off very basic with, what's the one belief we can change in order to get better results? And we work on that. We may have to go over and start over on that again to reinforce it. The daily worksheets are there because we're just trying to get in a habit of daily or weekly doing certain things and making those innate, so that we're not thinking about them, and we really just wake up and start doing all those things. And so I've been doing this long enough now that there's a good portion of my day, probably the first 2 hours of my day, where I don't even really think about things, because I'm so conditioned to doing them habitually. I wake up and I do my gratitudes, I do my declarations, and then I visualize for the day. I know what my schedule is because I've studied it the night before bed. And then I visualize everything, all the major events that are going to happen throughout the day, whether they're professional, whether they're personal, whether they're spiritual. Everything I do, I visualize that. I visualize success at it, so that I'm reinforcing those experiences in my brain too. And so there's a couple other tasks that are right there on my daily list that I don't even think about doing them. Before I know it, I've just gone through and I've checked off all these boxes, because I've got my brain conditioned to do certain things at certain times. And you're much, much more efficient when you do things that way. everything you do, you're not thinking about. It's kind of compacted time-wise, which gives you more time to do other things and become more productive. So, you know, all of this stuff is connected. The morning videos are connected. These weekly videos are connected. The worksheets are connected. The more dedicated you are to doing all three, the more dedicated that you stay, and you stay on that map of all three of them working together, the quicker you're going to see results. And so I know that the morning videos have been very effective. I get tons of feedback on the morning videos, and that's great. And I love working with you guys on that stuff. And I think it's probably, even though it's 2 minutes, it's the most important thing we do together. It's the biggest help that I can give you. But the worksheets, the workbook themselves is very, very critical, because those are what's building your habits. And the more you build those habits, the more efficient you're going to be, the more you're going to be able to fit stuff in. So you guys have an amazing day. Nadia says good morning, and let's have a great week. I'll be calling your groups to schedule the one-on-ones or the live meetings for this month. But just keep in mind, do these things, dedicate yourself to all three phases of the program. If you're struggling with something, go ahead and just erase that whiteboard the same way we do it every single morning, which is doing gratitudes, doing declarations, and visualizing success.